Hi, my sister called my adopted daughter a mistake and harassed her while expecting me to pay for her wedding, but I cut her out of my life and showed her who the real mistake was. Hi guys, I made a profile just for this. I have a main account I use for my art. I'm not totally sure how to post here, so sorry in advance if I mess something up. I also think it's important to give a content warning, since this story involves violence and death, and I know from personal experience how triggering that can be. So, I'm 32 years old, my name is Diane. I'm the oldest of 5 siblings, and I've basically been the caretaker of the family for as long as I can remember. I helped my parents until they passed, and honestly, it's exhausting. My dad died of brain cancer 3 years ago. It was heartbreaking to watch him slowly deteriorate. My mom passed away peacefully in her sleep earlier this year, after a long and brutal battle with breast cancer. Screw cancer. As the oldest, I just became the de facto mom. I don't mind, I love my siblings, and it's kind of my style anyway to be the big sister with friends and family. I'm like the counselor of the group, and I also help financially. I don't mind, since I work in tech, have a side art project, and inherited land and money from mom and dad. All of that is just to say, it's not a real loss to me. A few years ago, I adopted my cousin Charlie's daughter. I'll call him by his nickname, Decker. My little girl loves kickboxing. I adopted Decker after my cousin went to prison for murdering Decker's mother in a drunken, drug-fueled rage. That's too long of a story to add here, but it was a chaotic year of grief, paperwork, and court hearings. The adoption was finalized when Decker was 5 years old. She's 13 now, happy, healthy, and she calls me mom. She's been in therapy ever since I could legally enroll her, since she witnessed her mother's death. I couldn't be more proud of how resilient she is. She's my girl, my rock star, my everything. I literally call her my heart. Fast forward to my sister Clara's upcoming wedding, she's 30. At first I was so excited for her. She asked me to be her maid of honor. I cried with joy and even offered that my wife, Honey, 40, and I would pay for the wedding. Don't worry, I asked Honey first. But during a bachelorette dinner I organized, Clara made a cruel comment about my daughter, calling her a mistake, saying I shouldn't have taken her in. I looked at her and asked what she meant. She said it wasn't like I should have kids anyway, since I'm married to a woman. Then she laughed, and added that Decker was probably damaged and troubled. Guys, Decker is the sweetest kid alive. Sure, she's a teenager, so she can be a little rebellious sometimes. But when I say she's my everything, I mean it. She made us a family and turned our house into a home. She smiles easily, cries honestly, and has emotional intelligence I wish I had. She always asks, "How are you?" And she truly means it, willing to listen. But according to my sister, she's a damaged mistake. I felt like I was in some twisted, dark sci-fi episode, like defending my decision to adopt her was fighting the Borg, and I just couldn't be assimilated. I didn't laugh with Clara or her friends. I just stared at her in disbelief. I think she knew she'd hurt me, because she quickly changed the subject. I said it was best for me to go home, paid for everything, plus 3 extra rounds, and left with my family. The next day, my sister came over yelling at me for leaving and ruining the night, saying I owed her a do-over for her bachelorette. She claimed I ruined her weekend because I can't take a joke. Honey, who of course I told what happened, asked Clara to repeat exactly what she had said about our daughter. Clara refused, and just kept referring to Decker as Charlie's daughter. I was holding back so many tears. I told her I wouldn't contribute a single cent toward her wedding expenses. I'd keep helping with her rent until she moved in with her husband, but I would not participate in or pay for a wedding of someone who sees my daughter as a mistake. Honestly, I was ready to cut all ties, but Honey helped me calm down. Clara lost it. She threw a sparkling water can we had given her, screamed, "How am I supposed to pay for this?" And I told her, "You have more than a year. Save." So I left, pulling Honey out of the way, and then Clara blew up our family group chat. My other siblings are divided, some think I overreacted by cutting off the wedding funds, while others agree Clara crossed a line and needed a wake-up call. Now I feel bad for my sister, I love her, and she's upset. But I can't get past the fact that defending my daughter is more important. Am I the asshole for refusing to pay for her wedding after that? Edit, I've been working on my project at a local brewery and quietly crying while reading the comments. Wow, so many responses. I tried to reply to everyone. But honestly, I was drained. I sent this post to my wife, and I was also preparing to talk to Decker that night. We wanted to ask her if her aunt had ever said or done anything cruel to her or about her. I hoped so badly that she'd just be confused by our questions and remain blissfully unaware of this mess. I love my heart, my girl. I want her to always stay the bright, funny, loving, encouraging person that she is. I don't want her to ever know the ugliness of what her aunt said. I texted my sister, asking her if she really meant it. If she truly sees us, me, my wife, and our daughter, that way. Or if she was just drunk and stupid, and then doubled down out of shame. That said, I don't want her around Decker for now. I feel lost. I never planned to be a mom, and there's no damn manual for this. What the hell am I supposed to do? Wish me luck tonight, I'll need it. Because if Decker tells us that her aunt was cruel to her face, I'll have to hold my wife back from hitting my sister. Update 1. I'll try to keep this short. Honey and I took Decker to the local Oktoberfest celebrations. She had a blast, she did crafts, danced to the music, drank root beer in a pint glass, not real beer, and just had a wonderful time. On the way home, my wife brought up the topic we'd been waiting on. We asked Decker how she felt about Grandma's passing, and then talked about how everyone handles things differently. We asked if Mommy, me, or Mama Honey had ever been mean to her. She mentioned a couple of times when we'd been strict or didn't let her do something, like having a party at 2 a.m., but nothing more. When we asked about Clara, she went silent. Honey just looked at me, but I was driving. So I said, "You can tell us anything, my heart, you know that." And she shut down. When we got home, I hugged my Decker and went to the living room. 2 hours later, my wife came down and told me Decker was in bed, but not asleep, and that I should talk to her. I asked why, and she just said that Decker was ready to talk. I went upstairs. Decker was in her pajamas, reading. I sat next to her bed and asked how she was doing. She just said, "Mom, she told you, didn't she?" I said I didn't know anything. And then Decker told me that Clara made her feel uncomfortable and said cruel things when Honey and I weren't around. Clara called her a lost puppy, or stray. And once, Decker remembered her saying to her face, "You're not real family. When Mommy and Mama Honey have a real kid, they'll stop caring about you." I can't describe the rage, the absolute, burning red fury, I felt while my daughter cried, telling me she behaves so well and obsesses over grades just to prove she deserves to be loved. That she deserves to be wanted. After calling in my wife, we sat Decker down and told her she is the best thing that ever happened to us. That even if we had more children, she would always be our firstborn and our love. I cried and hugged her, telling her she's my everything and nothing will ever change that. She saved us. And I'm so proud of her, of us, of all the growth we've had as a family. I told her I'll never stop loving her. Neither will Mama. We love her more than air itself, and that will never change. Then I explained, her aunt is wrong. Her aunt is jealous of her, jealous of how much we love her. Her aunt needs help, but we can't give it to her. And that's why she won't be around for a while. Decker asked us to stop talking like she was a little kid, so I was direct. She may be my sister, and I love her. But you are my daughter, and I love you more. I told her my sister was wrong and cruel. I apologized that she didn't feel like she could come to me or Mama Honey sooner, but she always can. We will always choose her. Decker asked if it was her fault that I hated Clara. I explained that hate is a choice, and I don't hate Clara. I love her. But sometimes loving someone means correcting them. Actions have consequences. My daughter went quiet, then handed me her phone. Clara had been sending her horrible messages since leaving my house. I can't even write them out because it makes me want to throw things. But one said something like, "Go tell your so-called mom like the little snitch you are, and prove me right." I took screenshots and sent them to myself. Decker fell asleep around midnight. My wife and I went to bed too. I sent Clara the screenshot and wrote, "You came into my home as my sister and treated my daughter like that? Mom and Dad would be ashamed of you. This is not how you treat a child, much less your niece. I've loved you my whole life, and I know you weren't taught to treat kids this way. But from now on, you are not welcome in my home. You will have no contact with me, my wife, or my daughter. I'll give you the money for October, Clara, but from November onward, you're on your own. I won't be helping anymore. I'm sorry, this breaks my heart, but you crossed a serious, unforgivable line. Decker is my daughter. I am her mom, don't doubt it. And let me make it clear, if you ever mess with my family again, or contact my daughter, I will take legal action. From today, we'll keep minimal contact. If you try to escalate this, it will become zero contact. If you don't understand, there are resources to make it clear to you. I love you, D. Update 2. I kept my promise to my wife to wait before reacting. She knows me better than anyone and knew I was ready to blow up in an extreme way. Turns out, I didn't even need to. Let me clear up a few small details and misconceptions I've seen. Hi, I'm the oldest sibling. Mom and Dad had been sick on and off for years. So, for those of you who think I just suddenly started taking control out of some weird power grab, no. I've been managing their finances, maintaining their properties, and handling their affairs long before either of them passed. My dad simply wasn't mentally capable after a while, and my mom never had a head for that kind of thing. Yes, I basically grew up taking care of my siblings. Both parents had businesses and worked 7 days a week sometimes. I cooked dinner, helped with homework, and more. I know that's not normal, and I know some of you will say my parents were terrible for that. But they just didn't know better. I don't hate them for it. And while it definitely left me with some scars, it also gave my siblings stability. I'm proud I could protect them and be there for them so they didn't feel what I felt. And yes, I'm also in therapy. I was the sole caretaker of my parents when they died. The reasons are complicated, but to sum it up, Dad became verbally abusive near the end, and Mom was severely depressed and blunt. They were a challenge even on their best days. I don't hold grudges, but it is what it is. My siblings didn't want to be around them. Dad felt hurt and changed his will. Mom did the same. For those saying I'm rewarding Clara by literally paying her rent this month, or that I'm not a real mom or that I'm a bad mom for still loving the woman who tormented my daughter, I envy that your world is so black and white. Rent was literally due today, and the money was already on auto transfer. Clara is not being rewarded. She still has a roof for now, but from here on out, she's on her own. Clara and I used to be pretty close, but she pulled away around the time I adopted Decker. I never knew exactly why, just that the new dynamic was hard for her. I know she hates Charlie, considers him evil and irredeemable. She struggled a lot with losing our cousin-in-law, Decker's biological mom, who she was very close to. So I assume her issues come from there. I inherited the bulk of everything, though my siblings still received substantial sums. 3 of them got nearly all of my parents' businesses, and they all received trusts. Clara, however, spiraled after Mom's death. She had a mental health breakdown. Before we could help, she traveled, drank, and blew her inheritance on gambling and partying. That's a long story for another time. I didn't have a moment to calm down until today, to finally make a decision with a cool head about Clara. She's been spinning the story that I'm jealous she found a loving man, that I'm withholding Mom and Dad's money from her. She implied that I was the one abusing Decker, belittling her, saying she wasn't my real daughter. That whole narrative fell apart after I sent my message a few days ago. Yesterday, Clara showed up at my door, crying, begging me to let her in. But my wife and her friends were inside, and I made it clear, I don't want her anywhere near my family, since she emotionally abused my daughter. I told her to leave or I'd call the police to remove her. Honestly, I was going to call anyway, because I had already told her never to come back to my house, and there she was. That's why I told her in writing, so it was clear she knew she wasn't welcome. Clara started begging, saying she'd apologize to Decker, that she'd been drunk and upset, that she made mistakes. I could tell she was drunk or high or something right then. I told her it is not a mistake to intimidate a traumatized teenager and make her feel unloved and unwanted by her own family. To send her messages calling her useless and disposable? What the hell? I got angry. My voice rose. I don't know when I started screaming, I just lost it. I called her a selfish, horrible witch. Spoiled to the point of being delusional, thinking everything would just fix itself, thinking she had some right to the money my wife and I earn, or to the inheritance mom and dad gave us after everything we did for them. My daughter needs protection, and I am done being the giving tree here. Never again will she hurt my child. Clara is lucky I had the self-control to keep my hands to myself, and even luckier that Honey was nearby. Because otherwise, well, I might have gone to her house myself. Then Clara slapped me. She called me a bitch and a traitor for choosing that demon child over her. She screamed that I loved Decker more than my own family, that I turned my back on her. Honey must have been close to the door, because before I could make a huge mistake, she pulled me inside. She told my sister she had 60 seconds to get off our porch, then slammed the door in her face. Clara left quickly. But we still called the police, and we turned over our security camera footage. Just like the messages from our phones. Clara went completely unhinged over text, saying horrible things, ending with how she hoped I'd take my own life and that she'd celebrate it. Absolutely deranged and vile. I blocked her, saved everything into a Google Drive, shared the link in our siblings group chat, and also sent it to Kevin, her fiancé. Update 3. I'm too tired to give the long version, so if you want a summary, it's on my profile. I think I just desperately need to write this out. It's been about a month and a half since we cut all contact with my mother's side of the family, except for my other sister, not Clara. Decker has been in therapy, and honestly, so have Honey and I, both individually and in bi-weekly couple sessions. A lot has changed. I didn't realize how much my own past abuse at the hands of my uncle had shaped me. That's why Clara's cruelty toward Decker shook me so badly, it dug into scars I never let heal. My mom forced me to forgive my uncle and be polite whenever he was around. That was always the pattern. I was the oldest, so I always bore the weight, broke down, then bore it again. I was never allowed to have real negative emotions, never allowed to get angry. This whole situation with Clara ripped open the dust I had buried for years. Honey and I even started having problems. She noticed how reserved I tend to be, even with her. How I struggle to ask for what I need or to say when I'm upset. I shut down or deflect. It's painful to learn this about yourself when your whole world feels like it's falling apart. Clara was arrested for assaulting me, but she ended up in a mental health program for a month instead of serving a sentence. As far as I know, her record is still clean from that. Cutting contact with her and the rest of the family was hard. My other sister was the one who kept me updated. Clara was released a while ago. She's been trying to contact me in every way possible, new phone number, email, Facebook, even TikTok. She's written and sent numerous letters. I'm exhausted. I hate no contact because it's so isolating. I always had my siblings nearby, and now suddenly I really only have one. It's lonely. So I focus on Decker and Honey. Honey seems happier overall, she's dancing in the kitchen again, more affectionate with me, more excited to go out and do things. And Decker too, she's happier. We've shifted focus away from just her grades and instead praise her kindness, perseverance, and more. She's opening up more, especially with me. She talks about crushes and friends now, shares about the messy, intricate teenage world. It's honestly very sweet. I'm not doing as well. But my family is safe and happy, and that's what matters. Clara's fiancé, Kevin, reached out to me 2 days ago. Clara's been out for about a week now, but she still has to do outpatient treatment. He says she's not doing well. She's been talking about self-harm, and she confessed to him that the same uncle who abused me, abused her too. Kevin is begging me to talk to her, to help her. He keeps reminding me of how she used to be, how close we were. But calling our relationship close might not even be accurate. From what I'm learning in therapy, it was toxic from the start. I was the enabling sister, and she was manipulative and narcissistic. So I'm holding my boundary. I talked with Honey, and she agrees. I need to keep no contact, block Kevin, and only rely on my other sister for updates. Still, I can't help but feel guilty. I wish Clara well, but I can't risk cracking the door open and putting my family's well-being in danger. I guess I just feel lonely. I know I can't have her in my life anymore. It just hurts. Sorry this update took so long. And to those who have been kind, or at least firm but fair, in my private messages, thank you. There was never a manual for being a good wife or a good mom. And I've lived most of my life feeling like I was winging it. I appreciate the support so much. Update 4. A lot has changed. But I don't have the energy to go over everything, so I'll just link my previous post here. Kevin and Clara are no longer together. She's now back in police custody with another pending case, this time for domestic violence. From what I understand, they argued and at some point she grabbed a pipe or something like that, and witnesses called the police. Kevin tried to drop the charges, asked for money to hire a lawyer to get it dismissed, but eventually just moved back to his hometown in another state. My daughter is happy as a clam, and I don't tell her these things unless she asks. As far as she knows, Aunt Clara is simply no longer welcome in our home. Honey and I are fine answering questions if they come up. In fact, she hasn't asked about Clara in a couple of months. I do miss my family, but I try not to dwell on it too much. Toxic dynamics aren't easy to shake off. I've kept low or no contact with everyone except my other sister. This Easter will be with Honey's family. I really like them, they make me feel welcome. But for me, it's still bittersweet. I know it sounds selfish, and it probably is, but I just wish life had turned out differently. At the end of the day, though, my daughter is my priority. This keeps her safe and happy. We won't have her at home forever, she's already talking about college, about traveling. I love listening to her imagine and dream about the future. She has such a spark in her now, and it's beautiful. I want to spend as much time with her as possible before she goes off to conquer the world and forgets to check in with her weird mom, haha. Update 5. This is more of a follow-up to a post I made a few months ago, after we moved to start fresh. Today is July 8th, and it's raining here, wild summer storms. Our garden is bursting with basil, huge tomatoes, cherry tomatoes, and milkweed. I wish this was a cheerful, uplifting post, but it's more of a vent. Some context: my wife Honey and I moved here with our 13-year-old daughter Decker after things got really rough at our old house. Family drama, plus our daughter being bullied once her classmates found out she was adopted and had a crazy aunt. That's all in my previous posts, I won't repeat it here. So, new chapter. Today, Honey joined the board of a local nonprofit. I took a director position. We moved into her late uncle's old house, a fixer-upper with a wild but beautiful edible garden. Enter Glenn, the neighbor, about 70, and apparently close to her uncle. At first, he was great. He helped Decker in the garden, even gave her tips on caring for the butterfly plants. But when we started preparing to install a gate and security cameras, he turned cold. He accused us of treating him like a threat. We tried to explain it wasn't about him, it was just about keeping our daughter safe. Now Glenn won't speak to us at all. He kicked Decker out of his garden and won't even look at her. She came inside holding back tears, and honestly, I'm tired. Tired of older adults being cruel to kids who just want to feel safe and happy. We moved here looking for peace. I want to be a good neighbor. But it feels like people either don't understand, or they take it personally when you set boundaries. I miss my own family, even with the distance. And even though Honey's family is wonderful, I still sometimes feel like an outsider. They're close in a way I never really had, and it's hard not to feel a little lonely. Anyway, any advice, stories, or suggestions for handling this kind of cold, weird neighbor dynamic? Especially when all you're trying to do is keep your daughter safe. Thanks, everyone. D.